Hey guys, I ran the Gear Western half marathon earlier today. Doing this recap about an hour or two after while my memory is still fresh. I got this nice shirt. So my goal going into this was 7:30 per mile, which would be 98 minutes and 20 seconds, so 1:38:20. And spoiler, my finishing time was 1:35:57. So I ran over 2 minutes and 20 seconds quicker than what I planned to do, which is crazy, right? Because like if you started at your goal pace, how much do you have to pick it up to make up that much time? This course is hilly. I knew it was hilly. I ran the only half marathon I did before was the Lake Minnetonka half marathon. I think for sure this one was hillier than that one, but they were both hilly. Um, I'm gonna go over the whole race, and in my training, like at some points I was thinking like low 137s was possible, but then at some points I was thinking even 138 would be very hard to do. And when I saw the course, because I drove it, I ran on parts of it too as well, the flat parts. But when I drove it and saw just how hilly it was, I was like, even if I can get 139, that's probably not that bad, to be honest. I would estimate this course, and I'm not just saying this, but I would estimate this course compared to a flat course is 2 minutes slower. That's just based off of just being knowledgeable about running and also seeing some of the runners here, like I look them up and I don't really see that much other results from them, which is kind of weird, but I've seen people run about 2 minutes quicker at Grandma's marathon, half marathon for the half in the same year as they do this one. So based off that, but the weather today was about ideal. It was about mid 40s, maybe 46, 47 at the start. Low winds and sunny. And at the finish, it was probably 54. So it was around that 50-degree mark. So my goal was 730 miles per average, and I knew if I could make it to mile 8, then feeling decent still, that's when it became very flat. And then so I was like, make sure you don't destroy yourself before mile 8, and then you can make it the rest of the way. Just obviously it's still gonna be hard, but that was just my mental game plan. And but 7:30, and then I was thinking, if I still feel good after 3-4 miles, maybe I can pick it up a little bit, but don't go too aggressively until the end, obviously. So my goal was 7:30s, and my goal was for my first mile to be around 7:35. Definitely not quicker than 7:30. But I started out. The one thing I'll say about this race is I assumed most of the roads are going to be closed, but I think all of them were open. They said at the beginning of the race that a lot of them were open. I don't think I saw a single closed road, but there were. It's not a super busy area, and it was pretty early. It started at 8:30, so not super early. But and there were a few cars that passed us, but they were all slow and respectful, and there were traffic cops at some intersections controlling traffic, so stopping cars for the runners. So that was all pretty good. I didn't have any issues with that. So yeah, the first mile I started out and I was 0.4 miles in, and I was going a little bit quick. At first I was going a little quick, and then I was like, okay, just settle down. And I tucked in behind the guy because obviously I wanted to draft. This race usually gets around 150 runners. This year there was 175, and I got 14th place overall, but still only 5th in my age group, so my age group was stacked. So I settled in behind the runner, and we crossed the first street in the first quarter mile, and then the volunteers were saying to stay on the sidewalk. I saw one runner just veer into the road on the shoulder and pass, and then go back on the sidewalk. I was following this guy, and even though I was shooting for 6:35, we were half a mile in, and we were at 6:45 for that mile. And I debated about it, but I'm like, I can't start out this slow and then try to make up this time. So I passed him, and then I started following a taller runner, probably 6'2". He was really good to draft off of. I knew especially in the first 2.5 miles, drafting was important because we were going into the wind, even though it was only around 10 miles an hour, so not too aggressive. Obviously, drafting always helps. So I followed this taller runner for about the first mile. We did the 7:29, which obviously was a few seconds quicker than I wanted, because I said do not go faster than 7:30. But the first mile was net downhill for sure. And then the second mile, so that guy started to slow down, and I passed him, and I was following a guy with a water vest on, and this guy probably won't see the video, but I was curious that because he had a couple water bottles with him, and I never saw him drink out of them. But he took water from the first aid station, and I'm like, why do you need an aid station when you have a vest? And like, it's not like you're using it a lot, so you're gonna run out. But I followed the water vest guy until about mile 3. So mile 2 was another 7:29, and this one had the first significant uphill in it, which was pretty aggressive, to be honest. I was like, oh boy, here we go. And I followed him, and we went up, and then we went down, and we hit a 7:29. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit aggressive, but not too much. But then we started the third mile, and we were going at like low 7:20s, and I'm like, still got a long ways to go, and if I'm going too hot, this could really hurt at the end. But I'm like, at this point, should I slow down? It's probably more beneficial. Sorry, I got some visitors here. Say hi to Loki and Bennett. Don't step on my nuts. So, and at 2.5 miles, I did take the aid station. They had Gatorade, I think Tailwind. They said Gatorade, but they had said beforehand they would have Tailwind, but they had said they wouldn't have it at the first aid station anyway. But they said they had Gatorade and water, so I took a Gatorade. And I drank it, and I'm like, okay, no more fluids this whole race because I feel like it's gonna make me have to go to the bathroom. That was 2.5 miles in. And at this mile, we're going low 7:20s, like I said, and I'm like, okay, should I back off so I don't overdo it and suffer the rest of the race? But I was drafting off a guy, and there wasn't anyone like right behind us. Like there was a guy not too far behind, but I'm like, I'm just gonna keep drafting up this guy and give it my all and see what happens. And then there was another guy that started to catch up to us, and this guy's feet were going flop, flop, flop. You could hear every footstep. It was loud. And then I followed them through mile 3. And I will give my exact splits here now. So mile 3 was a 7:22. And then I must have followed this guy through mile 4 because we did a 7:29. Or, no, I think what happened was in mile 4, so 3 to 4, that's mile 4. He was slowing down. He was doing like 7:36s, which I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go that slow. I was planning to start at 7:35 for the first 2, but I'm like, after that, I just wanted to start clicking off 7:30s, and I needed to keep up the pace. So there was a lady ahead of him, probably 100 meters ahead of him, and I wanted to keep drafting, so I'm like, I'm going to pass him and catch up to that lady, obviously not within the first minute, but over the next couple minutes. So I did that, and I ran another 7:29. I think I was caught up to her by the end of that mile 4 for sure. At this point, we were on a flat trail called the Dakota Rail Trail. It was pavement and pretty much flat. But I knew after the trail, the hills were coming. So we got off that road, and I was drafting off this lady. She was short, probably 5'2", so, but still, you know, you get some drafting effect. And mile 5 was another 7:29. Then I did a 7:21, a 7:26, and a 7:22. That gets us to mile 8. But I will say around 4.5 miles in, I really started to have to poop, and I'm like, crap. Like, what are the chances that I hold this through the whole race? And I knew the chances were slim. So I knew there was a porta potty off the road around 6.5 miles in, but it was a bit off the road, like not super far, but far enough that you didn't want to use it. Probably 50 yards maybe, or less probably even. But and then there was one immediately off the trail at the loose line if I could make it to around mile 9. This was only 4.5 though. So I was following this older lady, and I figured she knew what she was doing. Her pacing was pretty good. She was going just under 7:30, so the pace I wanted. And there was 3 guys in front of us, probably 150 yards or so ahead of us were 2 guys that were running together. And then just ahead of them was another guy, and those were all the people I could see. And I'm like, what are the chances I pass all 3 of these guys and the lady by the end? And that indeed ended up happening. So this was kind of crazy. I think I passed the girl around mile 6, like in the sixth mile. And then mile 7 is by far the steepest hill in the course, and this hill is steep. It might be I'd have to think, but it might be the steepest hill I've ever ran up in a race, to be honest. It's 0.4 miles long. I don't know grades, but it is steep. Stubbs Bay Road, if you want to go look at it, in Orono. I'm sure no one will, but if you live there or something. But I still ran up that mile. I was like, in the pre-race, I'm like, okay, if I can run up this mile and still be at like 7:35 for this specific mile, I ran that mile in 7:26. And at this point, the one good thing about having to poop was I wasn't thinking about the hills. I wasn't thinking about how long I had to go. Like, I was thinking about how far it was to the restroom, but I wasn't like thinking, oh, these hills, oh, this pace, blah, blah, blah. I was just thinking like about having to poop. So I kind of just shut my mind off everything else and just ran. In the 7th mile, so at the top of the hill was mile 7. I was at 7, and then the 8th mile I ran at 7:22, and I caught up to the 2 guys in front of me, and I was thinking like, this really sucks, because now I was running like 4 or 5 seconds on average quicker than I planned to per mile, and I'm like, I could do a really good time if this poop didn't affect me, but I knew I was gonna have to stop. I thought about just going to my pants, but you don't want to do that, it's nasty. And so I did mile 8 and 7:22, and then mile 9, and I did not stop my watch in the bathroom, including the restroom stop. I ran a 7:17, and I think part of this was because I like ran quick to the bathroom, so I was actually going quicker than planned. Like I was at like 7:09 pace, I think, for that mile before my stop. And I told myself this is going to be a 10-second stop because I knew it was going to fly right out of me. And TMI, I know, but I knew it was going to fly right out. So I was like, this bathroom better be open. And I ran into the bathroom and whipped off my shorts and came right out flying. And I got up and I wasn't even gonna wipe, but I'm like, I need to do this, is nasty. So I just grabbed one big wad and gave it like 2 quick wipes and was back out. And I had passed a guy like a minute or so before that. I passed one of the guys I had caught and the other guy actually, but the first guy, he said, good job, and I said, don't worry, you'll pass me soon. And then when I came out of the restroom, he was like right there in front of me, and he goes, damn, that was quick. He goes, you disappeared, and then all of a sudden, poof, you were there right away. He's like, that was super impressive. And at this point, I wasn't taking any more fuel because I was doing everything I could to hold it in. But I took the one gel I had, and it was a couple of miles till the next water station. And I knew at this point in the race, the temperature might be making me feel just a titch warm, but I stuck to the left side of the road where there was shade. As soon as I turned onto the loose line, this was the loose line, the restroom stop was 1 mile onto the loose line, which is flat. And I thought it might be getting a little bit warm, but the loose line was shaded. But as soon as I turned on the loose line, I'm like, why is it sunny? But there was like a good mix of shade and sun. I will say up to this point, even though it was a sunny day, we were mostly in the shade, so it felt very comfortable, around 50 degrees. So yeah, as soon as I go to the rest stop, I passed the 2 runners that had passed about half a mile before that, just passed me in the restroom. The restroom was literally probably 10 seconds. And I passed them within the first minute of leaving the restroom. And I looked down at my watch and was shocked that I was still at 7:16 pace, because I thought for sure I would have added more time than that. And then there was one more guy in front of me that I had seen around mile 4. He had been just ahead of those 2 guys. He was probably another 100 meters ahead of me. And I was getting pretty tired at this point. I felt good because my stomach was now empty and I was feeling good that way, but my legs were getting really tired. And even though I was happy that I made it through the restroom issue, I knew I still had like 4 miles to go, and I'm like, that is still a long ways and my legs are getting tired. But I figured I'd catch that guy at the very latest at mile 12, hopefully by mile 11 or so. And I didn't actually know if I was going to because I was slowly catching up to him, but I was getting tired. And I ran another 7:17, and I got a water, and that's when I caught the guy because he stopped when he got the water. And I caught him, and he started again, but now I was drafting off of him. And we got off the loose line trail. Now we're at 11.5 miles. and a car passed us cheering, and he goes, "Hey, I know you guys." They were cheering for him, and they're like, "Go faster, go faster." And he's like, "This guy's making it hard behind me." And he was in his 50s. I figured he's around 50. I saw after he's like 53. And then he says to me, we had a little conversation. He's just like, "You go ahead," or whatever. And so I started going, and I was like, "But I have no one to chase now." And he's like, "Oh, it's about another mile and a half." I'm like, "No, I want to chase someone," but I couldn't see anyone else in front of us. And I like having someone to chase. We're at 11 and a half miles. We're off the loose line. Now it's just a paved road that is not flat but not aggressively hilly. And then I knew once we got to Wayzata Boulevard, it was a mile to go, and it was net downhill, and with the tailwind for this last mile. And so this guy followed me he let me go in front of him, and then I went off to the right side of the road, and he was still on the left side of the road, and we were running like exactly the same next to each other for the next couple minutes. I kept glancing over, and yep, he's right there, but I'm on the right side, he's on the left side. And then I noticed there was one more guy trying to catch us. He was probably 50 yards behind us, maybe. And it was kind of fun, right? Because it's nice to have like a race, right? Like it's me, this older guy, and this guy trying to catch us, and we're all within a few seconds of each other in the last mile and a half. And I'm like, okay, like it's like a race between us three, basically, for the end, right? And I ended up tucking in behind the older guy again, right as we got to Wayzata Boulevard a mile ago, and there was a water stop, and he stopped, like completely stopped. And I said, "Come on, man, we got this." And I grabbed the water, just took a sip, dumped it on my head, and I wasn't really warm, but it felt good. Yeah, it probably wasn't super necessary, but why not? And then I started going, and he's like, all right, we got this. And he followed me for a minute maybe. And the other guy I thought the other guy was fading because it seemed like he was trying hard to catch up, but now he wasn't making any more ground up. And then I followed the guy for probably the next 0.4 miles. So now we're at 12.4, and there was a runner ahead of us, probably 200 yards. It was a ways, but I was kind of thinking, like, I was thinking for like the last mile, can we catch her? Is it possible to catch her? I don't know. She's quite a ways up there. I couldn't tell it was a girl at that point, but with about half a mile to go, a little bit more maybe, there was a pretty good downhill for about a couple hundred meters at least, and I decided I was going to take off after her. There was a couple of points where I was struggling to keep on pace in these last 2 miles with this older guy, but at that point I knew it was the home stretch and I have a pretty good kick, so I passed him, and he didn't try to keep up even. He just said, "Nice running with you for a while, good luck on the rest of your race." Super nice guy. And I didn't know exactly where the finish was, but we were like by a lake, and like the lake was there, and we were on the sidewalk, and then I thought I could see Gear West over there where the finish was. I'm like, man, that's further away than I thought. And then I was pretty sure it was a girl, but at first I was thinking, like, what if it's someone in my age group and like they beat me and win my age group, and then like I was that close and I didn't do it, like I'll be so pissed off. So I was trying to catch her, but then I could tell it was a girl, and I'm like, well, maybe I should just follow her in. I don't know if I can catch her. And then we were literally, once we crossed the street where Gear West is, then I didn't know exactly where it was, but you run like down the block, past Gear West, just past Gear West, turn right, and turn right again into the parking lot. It was at that corner with like those 2 blocks to go that I passed her, and she had no response. I ended up beating her by like 10 seconds, which shocked me because like we literally had like less than maybe 200, or maybe at the most 200 meters to go, I would say. I could be wrong about that, but and then the old guy that I only took off and beat like past, that I was following for a while there, the last guy I passed ended up, I think he was like almost 25 seconds maybe behind me at the finish, which that was all came in the last half mile, 0.6 miles. And actually the other guy that had been trying to catch us passed the old guy too. So it was me, then the girl, then the guy that was trying to catch us, then the old guy that I was running with for a long time. and I had a good kick at the end. And when I turned into the parking lot of Gear West, I could see the clock. It said my goal was 138, maybe 138.20, even 139 or anything under I would have been happy with. But I knew I was in. I figured I'd be in the 136s. But when I turned into the parking lot, I saw 135.57, and I gave it everything I had, and I thought I just missed it. And indeed, by gun time, I did 136.01, but because I started 4 seconds after the gun went off, my chip time clocked me officially at 135.57, which I'm super happy with. That's an A+ effort race, even with a bathroom stop and everything. Yeah, couldn't have gone much better. I'll have to figure out something different to eat next time to avoid those issues, hopefully. But super good race. They had pancakes, bacon, sausage, and eggs at the end. They were giving out free energy gels. They had water and 2 recovery drinks that were both disgusting. Not like super disgusting. They were tolerable, but barely, in my opinion. And yeah, even though I was 14th overall, my age group was stacked, so I only got 5th overall. The third place guy in my age group ran 128. The top 3 all ran between 127 and 128 in my age group. The winner overall ran a 121. Yeah, I kind of get afraid sometimes when I'm drafting off people that they'll be irritated. But the older lady I was drafting off of, around miles 4, 5, 6, we talked after, and she said that she loved that I was drafting off of her because it was pushing her to be quicker. And she only ran about a 140, so if I had kept following her, I would have been like 4 minutes slower. Like just in the second half of the race, I gained 4 minutes on her, or more even, more than 4 minutes even. But I told her, I'm like, I ended up passing you. I don't know if I was speeding up or you were slowing down, but she said she was slowing down. So this last mile, which did have a significant downhill portion, so my mile 12 was 7:21, which was also my average, and then the last one was a 6:39, which is crazy. So yeah, my overall splits were 7:29, 7:29, 7:22, 7:29, 7:29, 7:21, 7:26 uphill, 7:22, 7:17 with a bathroom break, 7:17, 7:16, 7:21, and then the 6:39, and then my last 0.11 was around low 6-minute pace. I don't know exactly because I forgot to stop my watch right away, but very happy with this. And to anyone looking for a good race, fairly priced, US ATF certified course, I would recommend the Gear Western Marathon, keeping in mind that it is quite hilly. So if you're looking for a flat, fast race, then I wouldn't do it. And yeah, my parents, I saw they were about a mile and a half in, then I saw them again at 10.6. Then they drove past me when I was in the last mile, and then they were there at the finish. And my lovely wife came with me, surprised me, came with me, and watched me at the start and the finish, which was super awesome. Crowd support is always appreciated. So I'm probably doing a mile race 2 weeks from today, unless I feel terrible, which right now my arms are sore, believe it or not, probably from holding them up, and I can tell my legs are going to be sore. But after that, might take a small break, and then I'm signed up for Grandma's Marathon next year, so that will be my focus come this winter and spring.
You gotta have that. I've always liked it.